You've probably had this feeling before. You wake up with motivation burning inside you. You feel that today might finally be different, that this is the moment when you'll start changing things, take that step, move forward. But before you even begin, your brain starts whispering. It questions everything. Is this really the right time? What if I fail again? What if it doesn't work out like I imagine? And suddenly, that fire that was alive in you just minutes ago starts fading. Not because you're lazy, not because you don't care, but because you're overthinking. Overthinking is silent. It feels like control. It feels like preparation. But it's not. It's hesitation dressed in logic. It's fear wearing a mask of intelligence. You convince yourself that you're being careful, that you're just planning things out, that you're waiting for the right time or the right feeling. But the truth is, you're not waiting for the right moment, you're avoiding discomfort. You're avoiding the uncertainty that comes with taking real action. Because the moment you move, the moment you start doing, you also open the door to mistakes, embarrassment, and failure. And your brain hates that. It loves comfort. It craves safety. So it overthinks. It replays old mistakes, overanalyzes possibilities, and builds imaginary futures where everything goes wrong. And while your mind is busy calculating every possible outcome, your life stands still. You start to believe you're making progress because you're thinking about it, because you're planning, but what's really happening is paralysis. You're stuck in your head, looping through scenarios that don't exist, living in the what-ifs instead of the what now. And this is where most dreams die, not because people don't care, not because they don't have the potential, but because they never act. They think, and think, and think, until the moment to act is gone. It's a cruel irony, the more you think about doing something, the harder it becomes to actually do it. Because every new thought adds another layer of resistance. Every imagined obstacle becomes another reason not to start. The truth is, you don't need more time, you need less thinking. You don't need another plan, another strategy, or another dose of motivation. You need action. Raw, imperfect, real action. Because motion destroys doubt. Action dissolves fear. You can't overthink while you're moving. That's why people who take action, even small action, grow faster than those who wait. They're not fearless. They just move before their fear catches up. And maybe that's what you've been missing. Not courage, but speed. The courage to move before your brain convinces you not to. Think about it. How many times have you had a great idea, maybe for a business, a video, a project, but never acted on it? Not because it wasn't good, but because you thought too long. You analyzed every angle, every risk, every possible outcome, until you talked yourself out of it. Your mind is powerful, but it's not always on your side. It's like a brilliant lawyer that argues against your own dreams. It builds a case for your limitations, lists every reason why you might fail, and presents them as facts. But they're not facts. They're fears. And fears don't disappear when you think about them, they shrink when you face them. You don't outthink fear. You outmove it. Because clarity doesn't come from thinking, it comes from doing. You can't figure out the perfect plan before starting, you figure it out as you go. Every step you take, every mistake you make, gives you feedback that no amount of thinking ever could. That's why perfectionists struggle. They want to skip the messy middle. They want the plan to be clean, safe, and guaranteed to work. But life doesn't work like that. Growth is messy. Progress is unpredictable. Action is chaotic, but it's real. You'll never be ready. And that's the secret that people who succeed already understand. They act before they're ready. They don't let thoughts drown their momentum. They start, they learn, they adjust. They trust that clarity will follow motion. You don't need to see the whole staircase. You just need to take the first step. Because once you move, something happens. You realize it wasn't as hard as your mind made it out to be. You realize that fear is loudest before you start, and silent once you're in motion. The mind can't sabotage what's already moving. So when you catch yourself trapped in thoughts again, doubting, replaying, planning endlessly, stop. Pause, take a breath, and remind yourself, thinking isn't helping me right now. Then do something small. Send that message. Write the first sentence. Go for the run. Open the file. Don't wait until you feel confident. Confidence isn't a prerequisite, it's a result. It comes after you take action, not before. Action builds evidence. Evidence builds belief. Belief builds confidence. That's the loop you want to live in, not the loop of hesitation and doubt. Because every time you take action, no matter how small, you prove to your brain that you're capable. You weaken the power of that inner voice that says, you can't. And soon, the fear doesn't disappear, but it loses its control. You start to move even when your mind resists. You start to act despite the noise. And that's when everything begins to change. You start seeing results. You start building momentum. You stop needing motivation to begin, because momentum itself becomes your motivation. That's the beauty of motion. It transforms resistance into rhythm. You begin to realize that the moments when you don't feel like doing it are the moments that matter most. Because that's when your mind is testing you, asking if you'll listen to fear or to purpose. Most people listen to fear. They tell themselves, not today, tomorrow, but tomorrow becomes next week becomes next month, and next month becomes never. That's what overthinking does. It doesn't stop your dreams instantly. It kills them slowly, quietly, one delay at a time. So ask yourself, how many things in your life are unfinished not because they were impossible, but because you thought too long about them? How many opportunities have passed you by because you were waiting for the perfect time that never came? The truth is, every opportunity has an expiration date, and the longer you stay trapped in thought, the further you drift from action. You're not here to think about doing. You're here to do. Because you don't change your life by overanalyzing it. You change it by acting on it. Yes, you'll make mistakes. Yes, some things will fail. But failure from action is progress. Failure from inaction is regret. Regret doesn't teach, it only reminds. So choose action. Choose motion. Choose to start, even when it feels uncomfortable. Because every time you act, you reclaim control from your mind. You remind yourself that your thoughts don't define you, your actions do. And when your actions align with your goals, your life begins to shift. Slowly at first, then suddenly. Momentum builds quietly. At first, it feels like nothing's happening. But then, you look back, and realize how far you've come. And that's when you understand, overthinking never gave you that feeling. Only action did. Because growth doesn't live in your head, it lives in your habits. It's built in the doing, not the doubting. So the next time your brain starts to spin, filling your mind with what ifs and not yets, remember this. You don't need a perfect plan. You just need the courage to start before your fear talks you out of it. You can think your way into 1,000 reasons not to move, or you can take one small step that makes all those reasons irrelevant. Overthinking is safe. Action is alive. So don't wait for motivation. Don't wait for clarity. Don't wait for the right time. The right time is the moment you decide to stop thinking and start doing. Because in the end, it's not the thoughts you had that will define your life, it's the actions you took despite them. Overthinking is the enemy of action. And action is the enemy of fear. Choose wisely. Move, now.